From now on, we'd like to get started with Prime Minister's press conference. And following the last one today, in order to alleviate congestion with the audience, so we are asking you to gather here to participate in this session. Today, we are exercising social distancing in between. So when you want to address audience or when you want to ask a question, then you can exclude or take off your mask. And first of all, we'd like to have remarks from Prime Minister and open the floor for questions later on. Since the declaration of emergency, 10 days have passed, and during this time, each morning, stores were open so that people can reach the foods on the shelf. And for those people in the retail sector, the people with the cash register and the people who try to promote the flow of goods day and night, there are people who are engaging in distribution work. With state of emergency declared, our lives are protected by those people, and businesses are continuing towards this end. With people engaging in such job, I'd like to wholeheartedly appreciate their efforts. And with the elderly nursing care centers and nursing schools, a lot of staff members are taking the utmost efforts to contain the virus and to prevent the virus infection. So they are continuing their efforts. The electricity, power, and water, and garbage collection and incineration, and trains operations, and these are the operations which are needed for the social infrastructure. Unless we can sustain such social infrastructure, we cannot go on. So therefore, day and night again, there are people out there who are working so hard. And without the presence of those people, we cannot fight this COVID-19 from a long perspective. Invisible and threatening enemy is out there. So we have to fight the virus, and all the people who are supporting our lives are appreciated. And person-to-person contact has to be cut off by 70% at least and 80% if possible. In order to achieve such a target, stay-at-home request has been responded by people of Japan. And once again, I'd like to renew my appreciation with those people. And with operators, so telecommuting is becoming a principle. And a lot of cooperation is underway. However, per day, the new infections are not declining. In Tokyo, today, the record high, more than 200 new infections were confirmed. And very severe situation is here. And in urban areas, during weekdays, and compared with the infection spread around Tokyo and the Shibuya station area, 60% reduction, and around Umeda and Osaka, 70% reduction was witnessed. However, the target range has not been reached still. At least 70% has to be cut back, and if possible, 80% should be the numbers that we should aim at. Without that, per day new infections cannot be drastically cut back. On a cumulative basis, the number of infections in Tokyo already is nearing 3,000. In Osaka, 1,000 has been topped. And in each region, the people with mild symptoms are now staying at hotels. Such initiatives are underway. However, from medical fields, there are outcry. So we have to protect people's lives. However, that would be impossible. Now, back to back with the new infection or infection risks, the medical staff members and are mentally and physically distressed, and it's reaching almost its maximum. Once again, this is a request from me.
外出を控えてください。
Please do not go
できる
outside.
限り人との
As
接触を
much as possible,
避けてください。
please slash
でそのことが
your contact
医療
with
現場を守り、多
people.
くの
That helps all
命を
the
守るこ
medical
とに
professionals
なり
and
ま
that
す。
saves
ひい
much
ては
lives.
皆さんや皆さんの愛する人たちを
And you,
守ることにつな
not
がり
only you, but your loved ones will be
全ては
safeguarded by these actions.
一人一人の行動によってです。
Everyone's actions is
緊急事態
important.
宣言の区域を
The
7
area
都府県にとどまることなく
covered by state of
日本全
emergency
国へと
won't be just
拡
7,
大すること
but
といたしまし
we
た。
have made decisions to expand it
尾身会長
to
をは
across
じ
the
め
nation.
諮問委員
Dr.
会の
Omi and all the
専門
advisory
家の皆さんから
commissioned
賛同いただき
experts have
政府
approved
対策本部において
and is in
決定
favor
した
for the decisions, and we made the decisions
足
in
元
the
では
task force meeting.
全国各
And
地で
recently,
クラスターと呼ばれる
across the
集団
nation,
感染が
we have
確認
identified
されるように
cluster
なって
infections
これについては
day after
3
day.
月の3連休における
On the 3 days in succession,
都市部から地方への
that
人の移
weekends,
動が
the mobility of
全
the
国に
people from
感染を
countryside to Tokyo, Tokyo to
可能性がある
countryside
というのが
have
専
driven
門家の皆様の
the spread of
分析です。
infections. That's how the experts analyze the
また東京
situation.
や大阪
And not
な
only
ど
Tokyo,
7都府
but
県では
also
すでに
Osaka and
知
7
事による
prefectures
休業要請など
by
が進む中
the
で
governor
一部に
were authorized to
コロナ
suspend
疎開
operations.
と呼ばれるような外の地域への人の動きが
The
見
people's
られるとの指摘
mobility
があります。
have been observed to go outside, go outside of Tokyo, and we are
感染者
starting
が
to
多い
see the
都市
upcoming
部から
Golden
地方
Week.
へその流れが生まれるような
Urban
ことは
areas
絶
to
対に
countryside,
避
that
けなければ
movement need to be averted by any
それ
means.
は最も恐れるべき事態である
This is the most threatening situation. This is continuous
引き起こすことに
infection
なりま
spread
す。
across Japan.
先週の記者会見でも申
Last
し上げ
week
まし
we
た
had a
が
press conference
地方には
on
重症化リ
countryside.
スクが高いと
There
言わ
are
れる
many people who are prone to critical conditions. There are many
その
aging
感染
people.
リスクが高まれば
If the infections
地
risk
域医療に大き
goes
な
up,
負担となり
and that will
ひいては
huge drag on the
国民
medical
生
systems in
活および
countryside,
国民経済に
lives
甚大
and
な影響を
economy will
及ぼす
take a
恐れ
huge
が
hit.
あります。こうした事態を避けるため
In order to
大型連休
fend
に
off
先
the
立ち
situation,
それぞれの地域で
prior to the
観光施設へ
upcoming
の休業要請も
holiday,
必要となるでしょう。人の流れを
suspension of the businesses
人の
will be
流入
needed.
を防ぐために
Inflow and
各地
outflow
域
of
が
the people
所要
need to
の
be
緊
stemmed.
急事態措置を講じることができるよう
Emergency
今
measures need to be
緊急事態宣言
implemented
の
here and there.
対象を
That's why we have expanded the scope of the state of emergency across Japan.
そのため期間についてはこれまで同様
So, for the period,
Golden Week
as I
が
have
終わる
mentioned, right
5
after Golden Week,
6日までといた
May,
します。
May the 6th, this is a period for the state of emergency will expire.
日本全体が一丸となって
Across Japan, we need to be one to combat against COVID-19. We need to carry through it. We need to work hand in hand with everybody across the nation to safeguard your lives and
あらゆる手
livelihood,
段を尽くしていきたい
and we will resort to any possible means.
今回緊急事態宣言を全国に広げ
We have expanded the scope of the state of emergency and asking for cooperation from
感
every
染症
single
の
one of
影響が
Japanese
長
people.
引き全ての
The impact has been protracted, will be protracted, and the Japanese people are confronted with a very severe situation.
予想される
We
中
need to be
で
ready. We need to brace for protracted battle with COVID-19.
乗り切るために
However,
は
we need to surmount this difficulty in combat against
国民の皆様と
COVID-19.
の一体感が
In order to do
大
that,
切です
we need to be unified together,
国民の皆様と共に
together with the Japanese people.
そ
We
の
need
思い
to
で
follow through it.
全国すべての国民の皆様を対象に
So
一律
every
に
single one of Japanese
一人当たり
person
10
per
万
head,
円の給付を
100,000
行うことを
Japanese yen
決断い
will
たしま
be
した。
delivered in cash.
収入が著しく減少し、
The
厳しい
sharply
状況にあ
declining
る
revenues
ご
or
家
something
庭
that
に限っ
people
て一世帯
suffer
当た
from,
り30万円
and
を給付する
300,000
措置を
yen
予定しておりました
was
が、
supposed to be given to those households.
寄せられ
However,
たさまざまな声、
Various voices were raised from Japanese people, and ruling parties and opposition parties have raised their voices. So that's why we have expanded the scope of those benefits.
And the total amount of cash handout from 6 trillion yen to more than 14 trillion yen, there was an expansion to be expected. And the compilation of the supplementary budget has to be done again. So therefore, for 1 week, it's going to take around 1 week. However, we'd like to pass it as soon as possible in the night session, and your cooperation would be highly appreciated. And during the process up until today, there was a chaos. And for that part, it's my responsibility. So therefore, to the people of Japan, I'd like to wholeheartedly apologize. Day by day, the situation has changed a lot. So the lives and the safety of people have to be prioritized, and we have to listen clearly to the people's voices. And we have to exercise the best possible decisions. And the responsibility will be fulfilled. To this end, as soon as possible, the cash has to be delivered to peoples of Japan. So municipalities and together with the operators, we'd like to collaborate across the whole government. At the time of Lehman Brothers shock, a cross-the-board provision was made in cash. And with the notification alone, it took as much as 3 months. And because of that, the speed has to be a key and prioritized. And infection risk has to be alleviated, and long queue has to be averted. So regarding the procedure, instead of having a window persons in municipalities, we will use mail and online functions. The state of emergency declaration will be extended. Was extended, and site operations and bars and restaurants across Japan and event organizers will have to take a lot of pains, and to those operators, cash deliberation or cash delivery has to be done as soon as possible, and the shutdown request was given in some municipalities, and provision was done for such purpose. However, not only that, however, the people with declining sales and such operators have to be supported across the board, across Japan. As for SMEs, 2 million yen, and for freelancers and self-established owners, 1 million would be the cap for provision of money from the central government. And now, people have to now pay out their taxes, whatever tax payment and social insurance payout is going to be given a buffer so that they can divert such money for business continuity purpose. Given such challenges, people are working so hard day and night. And people try to be proactive and positive. So we'd like to support those people with all available measures. Your efforts will never be wasted. Together with everyone, this crisis should be overcome. One after another, within hospitals and clinics, the cluster infection is happening, which is quite worrisome, and also healthcare professionals, including nurses and nurse assistants and the staff members and the medical associates and clinicians or the technicians for clinical trials and public health staff members. They're in the very front, and they're back to back with the risks of being infected. They are fighting the virus such way. In order to face such a reality, as for the government of Japan,
自治体と連絡
parties to
医療報告を一つ
provide
でも多く
medical gears
現場
and
に
protective gears as much as possible to the
医
medical
療用
field
ガウンや
and
公益の
the
マスク
medical
などを
gowns and
産業界の
masks
全面的な協力を得て
are being
調
supported
達いたします。
wholeheartedly
今週から
and fully by the
都
industry
心も含めた
for
オン
procurement,
ライン診療を全国的に
including the first visits online
院内感染のリスクを減らすためにも
has
すべての皆さんや
enabled across Japan
電話やオン
and
ラインでの診療
through
を
telephones
積極的
and
に
online channels,
ご活用いただきたい。
people should reach the medical staff.
各地の医師会の協力を得て
And
検査センタ
the
ー
medical
を
associations are
設置します。
cooperating to install the inspection
かかる治療
centers
の皆さんが必要と判断した場合には
wherever necessary
直接
and
このセンター
whenever
で
deemed
検
as
体を採
necessary.
取し
The samples will be taken in the center so that it can be sent out to the private inspection centers to alleviate the burden of the health centers.
立ち向かうため
We are up against a very, very severe situation, and so far,
1万3000人を超える
over
自衛隊員
13,000
を動員し
SDF personnel were mobilized,
軽症者の
and the local governments have secured accommodations for mildly ill, and we will further strengthen our
医療支
support.
援を重症者に
Medical
集
system
中する
need
こと
to
で
be intensively allocated for critically ill, so that we can alleviate the burden on medical systems and its hospitals.
この瞬間も
And at this very moment,
命を救うため
in order to save the lives of the critically
懸命
ill,
に治療に当たってくださ
safeguard
っている
the lives,
医師、看護師の皆さ
doctors,
ん
medics,
医療従事者の
nurses,
皆さん
all
の
the
ため
medical professionals,
診療報酬を
also
診療報
they
酬
need
を
to
倍
be
増するなど
protected,
処遇
and
の
the
改善にもしっ
remuneration
かり
need to be further improved to support them. And this is something
そ
also
し
we
て
need to go about.
現実に必死で立ち向かっている
And
現
a
場の
lot
皆
of
さん
people
に私たちは
are struggling to be up against
感謝の気
this
持ちを
very
表す
grim
ことが
situation,
できます。
and so that we can
現在の厳しい状
express
況
our
に全力で立
gratitude
ち向かってい
for
る
them.
医療従事者の皆さんに
Medical professionals working on a front line across the nation, we need to have a big hand
感謝の気持ちを示す取り
and
組みが
express
行
our
われています。
gratitude, and various initiatives are ongoing across this country. We truly, truly appreciate
でも
all
私
the
たちに
efforts.
はもっとできることがあります。
There are many things still
そ
we
れ
can
は
do.
目の前の
That is
現実に立ち向かうだけでなく
not only to be up against your reality in front, but you can change your future.
私たち全員が今
All of us
不要不急の外出を
need to hold
避
back
けることで
unnecessary
2週間後
traveling
の新
and
規の感染
outings
者数を
so that 2 weeks ahead,
劇的に
new
減らすことが
infected people can be drastically decreased.
それは間違いなく
This is what we can.
医療現場の
And there is
負担
no
を
doubt
減らすことに
that we
つなが
can
ります。
slash so much burden on hospitals by doing so.
2週間後の
2 weeks ahead,
医療現場の
looking at the hospitals, the situation
決めるのは
can be
今なんです。
decided by this
未来は
moment, right now.
私たちの今の行動にかかっている。
It's really all about how we act
医療現場
right
を支えるため
now for our future.
その
In order to support the medical system and
減らしてくだ
hospitals,
さい。
we need to
皆さんの
slash
力
the
で
burden on the
未来を変えて
medical
ください。
systems. And let's change our
緊急事態に
future.
皆さんのご協力を
We
お
need
願いいたし
your
ます。
cooperation under this state of
私
emergency.
からは以上であります。
That is all from myself.
それでこれから皆様方からご質問いただきます。
With that, we would like to take questions from the floor. Prime Minister Abe and Dr. Omi will answer two questions.
ご移動いただけますでしょうか。
Could you please move to your
質問
positions?
の内容にましては
Depending upon questions, Dr. Omi answer to your questions. With that, I'll appreciate your cooperation and understanding. In asking questions, as we do already, always, I'll call on your name. Please approach to the closest mic and please state your name and affiliations in asking questions.
質問のご希望の表示、発声ではなく挙手でお願い
Please
し
do
ま
not
す。
speak up or shout. Please raise your hand. First of all, leading press card.
東京新聞、中日新聞のことです。
Tokyo Chunichi newspaper Goto, state of emergency have been expanded across the nation. The covered areas have been requested by Aichi Prefecture, which commemorates your state of emergency expansion, but some prefectures were surprised. Now, this is very much leading up to the cap on private liberties, and the cumulative number of infected people and other elements were very much grounds for your decisions. Why suddenly did you make the decisions? And the Ministry of Health showed the forecast for the cluster infections and others, and you needed to make up political decisions. Why? And the period will be ended at the May of the 6th. Some people will be concerned, and around by when would you like to cease this state of emergency, and in what kind of situation do you need to defer the state of emergency? Well, the covered areas have been expanded across the nation, 47 prefectures. Obviously, some prefectures do not have many infections. However, at the same time, Iwate Prefecture has no infections at the moment. They have 0 infected people. But maybe the holiday period, from other countryside or from urban areas, people might visit the prefecture and infections might spread. So I heard voices that we need to expand the state of emergency. And experts say because of the mobility, cluster infections have occurred, and there is a sign that across Japan, nationwide infection spread. And countryside, as I mentioned, there are many people who are prone to critical conditions, such as aged people. And if the infections will spread, that will give a huge drag on the medical system and hospitals. That will put a huge burden on hospitals. So especially Golden Week, an upcoming holiday period will be coming. So traveling for a long time period, or some people go back to your hometown, and many people will travel for a long distance. This is something we can expect. So we need to minimize the mobility of the people. That's why we have expanded the state of emergency to all the 47 prefectures. I know this causes very much inconveniences, but under the state of emergency, we would like to surmount this difficulty with everyone across the nation. And outlook has been shown of the cluster infections. Do you have anything to say, Dr. Omi? Yes, as for outlook, as you might all know, number of reports, how the situations will be like, the May the 6th, 1 month ahead. At least, if possible, 80% we need to cut the person-to-person contact. This AB curve these curves need to be flattened or need to go pick up continuously, or that curve is going to decline as expected, or is going to decline less than expected. We can't see it yet, as yet. So May the 6th, by that time, we will be able to have a more clarity of the situation. So with the assessment then, we need to discuss what to do as an experts. And that's the proposal we would like to make to the government. And as Dr. Omi explained, we take opinion on board from the experts, whether or not we need to prolong that state of emergency. That's something we would like to make decisions about. And based on advice from experts, we would like to make decisions. What counts here is that 70%, if possible, 80% person-to-person contact need to be slashed.
Now, one more representative reporter, please. Kyoto Tsushin, my name is Yoshira. So across the board, cash handout to all the people in Japan So in this view, 300,000 yen cash handout is going to be reshuffled for reduced income households. So it might decrease as a speed of provision. So why couldn't you do that from the beginning? And regarding the chaos which was caused, you write to apologize, you said. And regarding the decision and the process, where do you think lies as a problem? And 100,000 yen has to be delivered to all the people of Japan. What is the reason? When it is provided, the bank account information, in terms of that, can people across Japan can really receive such amount with everything considered? And about the special economic package, we had a discussion across the ruling coalition, and 100,000 yen across the board was also raised to the table at the time of Lehman Brothers shock. 112,000 yen was delivered to all the people in Japan. In terms of economic effects, and the majority went to deposit. That was a point of reflection for us. And when we discussed a 300,000 yen provision, we talked about two phases. And for specific operators, for sightseeing operations, they are severely affected. So therefore, we'd like to provide really cordial support to those people. And then beyond that, once a containment is made for the virus, we have to have a V-shaped recovery of economy. And in order for people to be able to consume what they have, we'd like to really mobilize such fund. However, with the state of emergency declared, and it was actually extended to the entire country, but with specific operators and peripheral businesses. Beyond them, most of the Japanese nationals are restrained from going out, and they're really worried about the future. So the entire country has to overcome the current crisis. In this view, across the board, provision of 100,000 yen, so such cash handout to all the people of Japan is going to be the direction we thought would be right. And I know that there are some voices from people of Japan, and from the ruling coalition there was also, and also from opposition parties there was such a discussion. And by the end of April, we'd like to go through the procedure in the Diet session. And upon this juncture, we have decided this way. However, 1 week delay is now happening, so such responsibility lies with me. Once again, I'd like to apologize to the Japanese people. Having said that, as soon as possible, cash handout has to reach the people of Japan. And what measures or what methods are there? At the time of Lehman shock, donation, a provision request and a confirmation process took a lot of time, so therefore it took as much as 3 months to provide such money to many people. Simplification of the application system and all the innovative methods will be put into place so that we can accelerate the process, and we can also mail and use a mail process to alleviate or not to cause the infection. And we are accelerating the process because the speed is a key. So as soon as possible, we'd like to give you a timeline.
Any reporters other than leading press club, in asking questions, please do not shout out, please raise your hand, I'll call on your name. Therefore, please approach to the closest mic and state your name and affiliations. 1 question per head. Ito-san. Radio Nippon, Ito, thank you very much. You said The Committee on the Health you have talked about as follows. The medical system and nurses and PPE is in short supply and mask supplies are in very much short supply, you said. How would you counter that problem and what's the initiatives going on right now? Lives of people and health of the people need to be protected by the medical professionals and working on the front line and very close to and very next to the infectious risks. Nurses and nurse assistants, obviously medics, and medical technologists and engineers and all the medical professionals. I truly appreciate their efforts, but they need to protect their own lives. So masks and goggles and gloves and medical gowns were in short supply, and we've been able to supply enough numbers. I truly apologize for the short supply as a Prime Minister of Japan. And we truly depend on China for the supply. Therefore, this medical equipment's short supply need to be reduced. So in the push type support need to be done. So the volume 1 emergency declaration has been issued to the 7 prefectures. And surgical masks within this week, 10 million masks will be delivered. And for medical gowns and face shields, respectively, within this week, 100,000 units. And within 1 month, 900,000 units. N95 masks, KN95 masks will be delivered this week. 70,000 approximately. Within this month, 700,000 units. This is our plan. So far, surgical masks have been prioritized to deliver for hospitals. On top of that, nursing facilities and pregnant women and schools, in order to contain outbreak, fabric masks have been delivered to those facilities. And on top of these initiatives, we have some good forecasts to deliver masks. And across Japan, there are many people who are struggling to secure masks. That's why this fabric mask will be delivered to people, and you can use those masks many times if we wash them, so that we can also contain the surging demand of masks. And in Singapore, across the country, the fabric masks have been shipped, and other prefecture in Paris, that initiative was done as well. Increased production initiatives were cooperated by CEOs and president, and we had good discussions with them. And also, we further asked the cooperation from them. And so far, not only medical equipment manufacturers, but auto manufacturers or electronic manufacturers, and those different sectors have come together to unify and to be fortified to go on this increased production. And I heard very good opinions from them, and many people are struggling and gritting their teeth and try to weather storm, and we would like to cooperate with them and support them. So the person, the third person from there. Mainichi newspaper. My name is Sato. The state of emergency declaration is my question point. And the scope was expanded, and during Golden Week, the people's flow has to be minimized, and from this perspective, it's going to be extended to the entire country. And in terms of minimizing the people's flow, are you going to ask train operators and flight operators, airline operators to reduce the number of flights and trains during this time? About trains and air flights and airplanes, the public transportation is supporting the people's livelihoods and the people's economic activities, and it's an infrastructure. So social infrastructure is underpinned by such operations. In principle, even under the state of emergency, necessary functions have to be sustained.
And with during specific period, we should avoid a strong concentration of people. However, we will not ask operators to reduce the number of operations or trains and flights because it's going to invite more congestion. Of course, based on managerial decisions, they are reducing some. However, the government will not mandate them to reduce the number of operations so that we can alleviate the concentration of people.
Next question. Goto-san. Goto from TBS. To Prime Minister Abe, 100,000 cash payouts. This policy was decided. LDP, and you were the head of LDP, and you've went through all the process needed. But that process was negated by this new decision. Once again, let me ask you, are you going to explain what's going on to the party and how should the decision making be? Well, in a long history of Liberal Democratic Party, I don't know if you know it, and green card was decided before, but in relation to the citizens, the decision was upended by Deputy Prime Minister before, and I was used to be the chairman of the division, and all the insurance system will be introduced and all the period was set, but the Policy Research Council chairman said we should change the policy, so that's why we changed it. And depending upon how the trend has been and will be, the decisions were not necessarily fixed, and sometimes that's upended. This is very much necessary in politics. And to be sure, in the Policy Research Council we decided, and the General Affairs Council we decided the policy, and we went through the process. But we skipped all the process. I can't make decision on my own. In the Policy Research Council, the discussions took place, and approval will be given. And after the General Affairs Council, the final approval will be given. So if the green light comes, we would like to go ahead with the decision. Whether or not I should or I will go ahead or not, but chairman of the Policy Research Council will explain to the council, and the head of the Policy Research Council will explain that.
Shino-san. Asahi Newspaper, my name is Hoshino. Prime Minister, you talked about reshuffling the draft budget. And as for the responsibility, you said you'd like to apologize because of the responsibility. However, the spread of the infection couldn't be avoided, you said, and public masks and because of the video that you delivered, there was some criticism. How are you going to respond going forward? Across the board, shutdown of schools, operations, I think it was the right decision. And later on, in many countries and areas, there was the same practice exercised. And about fabric masks provision, like I have said before, first of all, surgical masks have to be delivered to medical institutions in a solid manner. And as for surgical masks, as for the order taking, in order to respond to such a situation, we also have different nursing care centers to which we provided fabric masks, and 3,300 yen was the price for the internet channel, and it's a lot of demand for masks right now, so therefore we have decided to provide 2 fabric masks for each household. And as for young people having the spread of infection, by them moving, we will have more and more infections spreading out. So therefore, we'd like to ask a stay-at-home request to those young people. So therefore, we wanted to put into place many different measures. And of course, there are pros and cons and different opinions raised. However, what's important is at least we have to cut back the people-to-people contact by 70% at least and 80% if possible. So we have to put out all the stops here. What is currently happening? And what is the reality? As soon as possible, we have to contain the virus and its spread with all-out efforts. And with experts panel, we are taking opinions and receiving all the support. And of course, there were some gaps that needed to be filled. However, we'd like to work really hard from now on as well.
Takashima-san. Okashima from TV Asahi. On a state of emergency, Harvard University research shows that the stay-at-home will be ceased, and because of that, subsequent infections increases will be observed. By 2022, on and off, we need to sustain the human behavior. That's what the research shows. You said we need to brace for a protracted battle against COVID-19, and we need to be predictable for what the situations will be like ahead, and we need to show, and you need to show the policies. Whether or not you lift, regardless of whether or not you lift the state of emergency or not, but do you continue to ask for people to not to congest in places like busy streets? For Spain flu went viral, and that settled once, but then massive infections went out. This is something we need to learn from. With this COVID-19, and this is an unforeseeable virus, we are not fully assertive in predicting the future. This is something I have to admit here. But after the 6th of May, what the situation will be like? Restaurants, going out to restaurants and what to do with it? I can't be assertive as of now. But this is not the decision made by political decisions, but we need to be based on the advice from experts. And night-town clusters, and night-town, especially 3Cs, and night-town cluster had occurred, and because we have expanded state of emergency, we need to ask for people to hold back going out to night towns. And after the 7, what the situation will be like, I would like to ask for Dr. Omi on what he has to say. Well, as Prime Minister mentioned, basically, as an expert, 6th of May, setting aside what the results will be, I don't think the infections will be 0. Although the infection will settle a bit, but still, little by little, slight infections are expected to continue. Therefore, cooperation requests for Japanese people and how much and what extent should be cut those requests need to be very much based on the assessment on the 6th of May. But there's one thing I can say today. There is almost no doubt, even though infections started to subside, it's impossible the infections will be 0. We expected the repeat number of mountains. This is something we need to be ready for. And these small mountains, I don't know how the volume will be. This is very much based on the due calculation and equation. So depending upon levels, and we are combating against COVID-19. Depending upon the situation, we need to adjust and rejig our guard against COVID-19.
So next question, please. It's a very back side. Freelancer, my name is Hatakeyama. About the declaration of the state of emergency and under this situation, my question is regarding elections. And even with the COVID-19 spreading, there is no postponement of elections, and election committees, advanced votings are being recommended by those committees, and disinfectant and such jails are set up. However, the turnout for elections under this situation is declining, and 10 days have passed since the declaration was made. In order for voters to be able to secure their safety, what will be the measures? For example, mail order or mail function enrichment or online channel utilization, or the postponement of the election dates. Do you have such in mind? And all the time, to all the people of Japan, you'd like to clearly explain yourself. That has been a repeated statement. However, regarding this press conference, there is a limitation of reporters and the number of questions as well for this session. So in this limited environment, the current cabinet reporters club system, what is your idea on the system? And would you like to also introduce more open system for press conference of this setting? Under the situation, what to do with the elections was your first question. For example, in South Korea, general election was held, and there was some postponement in some regions. In Japan, in Shizuoka, the by-election was raised to the table, and non-urgent elections have to be cancelled or postponed to alleviate the risk of infections in some areas. However, like you have said before, of course, online voting is an option that we have. However, under the current legal system, we cannot make it happen. However, with this being triggered, for example, for doctor call or doctor visit, for the first time around, instead of face-to-face diagnosis, online channel is going to be utilized. And amid such big changes, what to do with the elections and the channels have to be discussed. In the Diet, all the Diet members have to be debating on this matter. And we'd like to strive to raise our turnout even under the current situation. And what to do in the future. And about our very basic function, which is the election, it has to be done as much as possible. And about the cabinet press club and reporters club and how it should be. Probably I'm not in the best position to comment on this matter. However, with the different trends of the society and eras, traditional media are no longer covering all the sphere. So therefore, what to do with this under the current situation has to be debated by you and across the society as well. However, with the LDP and Komeito administration, I think this is the first question that we received of this nature, and we'd like to secure your opportunities as much as possible. However, the time for questions with the Prime Minister, if we try to cover everyone's, and it's going to be extended to several hours, but we'd like to maximize this opportunity as much as possible. Others also have questions, so please give away to others. Kunisada-san, go ahead. Kunisada from Kyoto newspaper. A suspension business request has been sent, and each prefecture
has a cooperative benefit system, and to business operators, for example, in Kyoto, and 200,000 for SMEs and 100,000 yen will be delivered to people. And Tokyo and Osaka and 1 million in Aichi, 500,000 yen. There was a huge gap. It really depends on the financial capability, and amount of money you get varies, and this shows the sense of unfairness to everybody. But under the law, we are all guaranteed the rights of fairness, and you need to ensure that. What's your comment? Well, in Tokyo, 500,000 yen has a custom premium, and because Tokyo has a good financial capability. But depending upon the strength of financial capability, services have been changed. For example, the medical cost for kids and how to support them has been altered. In that sense, depending upon where you live, the system is different, depending upon efforts and to which area the budgets need to be allocated. And from the perspective of the politics in the regional side, the decisions have been made, I suppose. Now, request has been sent to suspend the businesses, and in order to respond to that, as I mentioned, as a government, to specific sector, not specific sectors, but 2 million and 1 million respectively will be given for operators who are struggling with the declined revenues, and this is something we are able to ensure. And 1 trillion yen, the grants have been delivered and will be delivered. In 2008 financial crisis, unlike the events, various measures have been executed. But almost all the initiatives will be shouldered by the governments. So this grants amount usage have been much bigger than those that they got in financial crisis to the 2008. Now we see upcoming holiday period, and we had expected a lot of people to move, but a lot of operators will see declined revenues, but tourism and other operators will be given 1 million and 2 million. Those money need to be utilized, and 200,000 yen, those small lot capital will be financed, and up to 800,000 yen. So this is one of the systems that they might want to utilize.
Shimura-san. TV Tokyo, Shimura is my name. Like you have said about the emergency small loans, shows a window of the social associations. There is a lot of congestion and requiring 2 months for waiting. And of course, there is a 4-year procedure happening. However, there are mixed opinions about the screening being so stringent here and there. Do you have any idea to improve such a situation? About the emergency small loans, 3 weeks after the declaration, 40,000 applications were made, and 32,000 cases decided. 5.48 billion was the decided amount, and to as many people as possible, we would like them to utilize this loan. And around the non-urban areas, there has been a lot of concentration of consultations, and the residential registries, and even without the documents attached, they are encouraging people to come to the windows, and attachments should be delivered at a later time. Such procedure is in place, and even without a consultation, mail procedure should be also put into place so that necessary procedure is underway. And now such loans are being utilized as so many people, and it's taking a lot of time for a lot of applications to be processed. And to financial institutions, we are asking them to Apart from social welfare association window persons, we would like to utilize the window persons or functions of financial institutions. And now coordination is underway, and we'd like to solidify such a system as soon as possible.
We have upcoming diplomatic schedule, so final question. Imai-san. Imai from Yomiuri newspaper. Last night there was a G7 video conference. WHO, the complete verification and reforms need were confirmed. That's what it was announced. And WTO sided with China, and President Trump and the United States stopped contributing to WHO. What was the statement you made against WHO? And do you think that WHO sides with China? And do you think you are going to have the United States review the stop contribution to WHO? Well, there was a video conference with the G7 leaders last night. And this COVID-19 has gone viral across the world. This response needs to be executed, centering on WHO, and the international community needs to be solidified to combat against COVID-19. As an international body, WHO is the only body in that regard. And at the same time, in order to be ready for a similar situation, the function of WHO need to be fully verified. That's what I said. But what I mean by that is WHO needs to play a central role to combat against COVID-19, and after which we need to verify that body. And to WHO, there were many opinions raised so far. Politically, WHO is not necessarily politically correct. As you said, as you know, Japan has urged WHOs to allow Taiwan has participated to WHO as an observer. All the mankind's health need to be protected. This is something that WHO need to be stick to. But on-site supports need to be offered, and WHO does have knowledge, and the cooperation from it is imperative in fight against COVID-19. Whether or not we slash the contribution to WHO, this is not something we have considered, because WHO is key. However, I know there were some problems over WHO. Once the situations around COVID-19 is abated, and we would like to consider what to do with it. Apologies, we have schedules upcoming ahead, so we would like to close the press conference today. Thank you very much for cooperation.